as he stared down scheming Sturgeon by blocking her dangerous gender reform bill. The sick legislation would have endangered women and children across the country by allowing anyone, including sex offenders over the age of 16, to change gender and access female-only spaces from the age of 16 without a medical diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Speaking through hysterical SNP cries of shame, Scotland Secretary Alistair Jack explained the bill would impact UK-wide law, including the 2010 Equality Act.
It is our assessment that the bill would have a serious adverse impact, among other things, on the operation of the Equality Act 2010. Those adverse effects include impacts on the operation of single-sex clubs, associations and schools, and protections such as equal pay. The Government shares the concerns of many members of the public and civic society groups regarding the potential impact of the bill on women and girls. The bill also risks creating significant complications from having two different gender recognition regimes in the UK and allowing more fraudulent or bad faith applications.
Naturally, Scotland's shameless First Minister jumped at the chance to play politics with vulnerable women and teens' lives.
This is a UK government that sees an opportunity to stoke a culture war, I think wrongly, and I think they're very misguided and mistaken about that, but in doing so, undermining the Scottish Parliament, and we will defend it.
But the only one stoking the culture war is her, because Sturgeon is all too ready to throw women's rights under the bus in the name of a hard left woke agenda that distracts from her own failings. I'm joined now by former Olympic swimmer and women's rights activist Sharron Davies. I mean, Sharron, she talks about stoking a culture war. I would argue it is Sturgeon that is playing politics with the safety of biological women.
Yes, evening, Dan, evening, everybody. It's in the studio. Nice to see you back again. Hope you had a lovely holiday.
Thank you, lovely one.
Absolutely. I think the cynic in me said that this is very much planned, though. I mean, she knows very well that the GRR bill is in conflict with the Equality Act of 2010. She was told that when they were preparing this bill as well. And Section 35 was agreed on when devolution was agreed on. So again, their lawyers would know all of these facts. So the only person that's really stoking this is that Ms. Sturgeon. To take something and reduce the age to 16, which I think is very, very risky, to turn around and go from 2 years to 3 months, and literally just say that, that someone that's a convicted paedophile can just self-identify and be put into a woman's prison is just extraordinary, really. The lack of consideration for women and children's safeguarding is extraordinary. And if you ask, Scottish people, as you've already talked this evening, the polling says that they don't support this. So I just don't understand where she gets her mandate from, because this is not what Scottish people want. And again, she's now also talking about going to the courts, and using up funding to do that should be spent on other things. They have big issues with the NHS up there, worse records than we do down here even, which are horrendous, education problems, and they have the worst death rate for drugs in the whole of Europe, four times the next country. So money should be spent on other things in Scotland that desperately need it, other than stoking a war with Westminster.
But your suspicion, Sharron, is that she's done this because it plays into her goal of trying to keep her rabid base happy in terms of Scottish independence. Much easier to keep fighting against Westminster than having to deal with all of the problems that you've just outlined.
Yeah, she talks about the consultation, and I can tell you for a fact that I travelled up to Holyrood with a few friends of mine that were involved in elite sport. To actually stand in front of, the committee and talk to them about the effects that this would have on sportswomen. And she didn't listen to any of us. She didn't even invite us in. Yet she did invite two trans activist males to go in and to give their advice. So we weren't even allowed to tell people what we knew, base it on peer-reviewed science, to base it on our personal experience. We weren't even given a voice. So she very much had an agenda when the whole thing was being prepared.
It's like she is a woman hater.
It's just weird, isn't it? It is really strange. I don't understand it at all, because there is room to look after everybody.
Yes.
My particular soapbox has always been sport. And I'm very happy that Michelle Donnellan, the Culture Secretary, just this last weekend has turned around and said, that the government is going to ring fence female sport in this country.
So important.
Competition And that is it's fantastic. It's so very, very important.
I know, but the thing is, Sharron, that is great. That is great.
And then backward, it's just so frustrating.
Well, it is because the thing is, Sharron, in so many ways now, women are under attack. There is a war on women. Now, people said I was paranoid, for example, when I called out the woke organisers of the Brit Awards for making their main category gender neutral. Everyone said I was completely paranoid because Adele won the award last year. Well, guess what, Sharron? This year, not one female is nominated for Artist of the Year. And that's just one example. It feels like in so many aspects of society, sport, culture, entertainment, there is an attack on women. But what's so serious about what Sturgeon is doing is this is an attack on women's safety.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just definition of words as well. We're losing our ability to be able to explain things. What is a woman? What is a transgender woman? What is living as a woman? That's the other thing I find extremely difficult to someone please explain to me what living as a woman is. So you're going to live as a woman for 3 months. So that means leaving the house and calling yourself a girl's name and wearing a skirt and lipstick. Well, most days I don't wear makeup when I go out. I can't remember the last time I wore a skirt and heels, and I could be called Sam, couldn't I? So
yeah.
What is living as a woman? I don't really understand that. That's why having a medical diagnosis for gender dysphoria is so very important.
Exactly. And no one is wanting to take away the rights of genuine trans people, but it cannot come at a cost to the safety of biological women. But look, it is so important that you keep up this fight.
I think this is very much at the detriment of, genuine transgender people who need our compassion and our support.
And who never asked, by the way, to be dragged into this culture war by Sturgeon. They never asked for this. They never wanted it. But look, keep up the good fight, because alongside J.K. Rowling, Sharron Davies has been the first high-profile woman who was really prepared to lose everything in order to raise public attention to what is going on. And we're going to keep the fight up with you, Sharron, this year. So thank you so much. We'll speak very soon.